This episode of Talk About Games is sponsored by Loot Gaming. Next month's crate is Battleground, featuring items from Fallout 4, Gears of War 4, Dead Rising, Dark Souls, and Battlezone. Get yours today by going to lootcrate.com/Cinemassacre and use coupon code Cinemassacre for 10% off on your order. Hey everybody, on this episode of Talk About Games, we're talking about Ori and the Blind Forest on Xbox One.
First of all, the painterly style of the game attracted me right off the bat, so I wanted to see a little bit of the art style because it was so pleasing to look at. And I actually found myself immediately caring for the characters. They're living this sort of happy-go-lucky life. There's apples and trees, and they're just having this simple little life. Boom! There's like this apocalypse that happens. Spoiler alert, I guess. The one character dies, and it's a really kind of a heartbreaking way to start the game. And like I said, a lot of times I don't care, but I found myself actually caring.
Yeah, the game starts with that skippable prologue.
And it is skippable, which is the other part.
And I think that that's really great because the game is kind of serving two masters. On the one hand, we have a very difficult platformer. On the other hand, we have a game that is both visually beautiful and also has an amazing soundtrack. And we were lucky because this physical copy that we have here included both the game itself and the soundtrack.
So that gives you more of a reason to own the actual physical copy in the fact that the soundtrack is on here. But what I always find funny about buying physical copies of games this day and age is you put the game into the Xbox and then it just installs the game, from the disc, kind of like the old, like a PC game.
Right.
Whereas why not just download it from Steam at this point? Why even have the disc? It's always nice to have this, but take it from somebody as myself and you too, who has a lot of games. I don't really want to fill up my entire house with games. So
right.
I'm at the point now that I've gotten to with like Netflix and whatnot, where I still have physical games, but I can't fill up my entire house with physical media. So it's actually kind of nice. I'm slowly making the transition into, it kind of is a good idea to not have 8 million CDs in my car and to be able to download,
You know what's funny? Like I look at a game like this and I compare it to my pile of NES games, and I look at the NES games and I'm like, you know what, they belong there. But
that's different.
This is not.
I could have just totally downloaded this on Steam. That would have been fine. But yeah, my copy of, Mega Man 2 Legend of Zelda, if I don't have the actual cartridge, fuck that. I need it.
It is a fairly meaty game for something that originally started as a download copy. It looks like it's going to be this fun little platformer, but it's this big, sprawling Metroidvania.
I suppose so. We played the game for about an hour and a half or so, and I think we were about a fourth through the game. I thought that game was going to be really, how games are now where they're 80 hours long and stuff like that. This is not a game like this. This is probably like an 8 to 10 hour game.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
So it's actually not as long as I thought it would be. I will say from what I played, I really, really did enjoy this game, other than a couple little gripes that I had with it. One was that very early on in the game has sort of a balance issue in that it goes from being your typical platformer, slightly challenging, and then you would think the difficulty would, gradually amp up, but they throw in this dark stage, kind of like if you've ever played New Super Mario Brothers when all the lights go off. I was never really a fan of those type of games, and that stage really bothered me. I felt like that was something that they could have put later in the game, but it's very early. That I didn't like. So that's a balance issue, a little bit uneven. And then the other thing that I didn't like was the saving. Now, I enjoy games where you have to progress and then you get to a checkpoint, and I don't mind playing over and over and over again. I like games like that, but I don't have the best memory, so I don't like having to, I finally made it past that part, but oh shit, I forgot to save it because this game doesn't have an autosave.
The way that the game paces the crystals in it, they're paced so that you save when you find a crystal. The fact that you're placing a crystal where I'm supposed to save means that it may as well just auto-save there.
Right.
Because you're already putting the crystal there. Don't turn saving into a game mechanic.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing more infuriating than you do this hard platforming sequence and now, I didn't hold down B, so I gotta restart it.
Exactly.
Yeah, the platforming in this game is of two worlds. One, there's this real leisurely, while you're going through the level, oh, I have to jump to get up to this platform or something, and it's very slow paced and methodical. But then you get to these chase sequences, and the chase sequences are unforgiving, no saving, no nothing. You're running from a boulder, you're running from a rising water, you're running from all these things, and it's totally unforgiving.
And I love a challenge, but I just don't like having to remember to save it. If the game would have been autosave, I think that would have been better. This is a Metroidvania style game. It's a game where you are going back and forth a lot, and there are keys or keystones, I believe they're called in this game, where you have to collect those in order to open up a door in order to progress. If you pass one or you forget one, you have to go back to find them to get to the next door to open to progress. And, you know, that's all well and good, and I like that. One thing that I had a problem with is you're progressing, and after a little bit you feel like, okay, well now something big's got to happen. It's got to be a boss fight, and then I'm gonna like get a good item or something like that. The game's not like that. From what we played, there wasn't really many boss fights, and I really felt like, you know, another Metroidvania style game that Ryan and I played, our first video actually, was Axiom Verge, and I thought that had a good balance of boss fights. And I think this game could have used some.
The boss fights were awesome in Axiom Verge. This game gets its difficulty entirely from the platforming. And I actually have an opinion that may be a controversial one.
What's that?
I feel like this game shouldn't have been a Metroidvania. Here's why. You have the tutorial area, you have fire, you have wind, you have water. Mm-hmm. Right? There's 4 areas in the game. What's the point of backtracking? Let's have 4 levels. Let's just go from one to the other to the other. The narrative structure's that way. The levels are designed that way. Why?
You would have preferred it to be more linear.
I'll give you an example. Castlevania 1. Linear, very, very hard. Mm-hmm. Right?
Absolutely.
Castlevania 2. Non-linear, much easier. Castlevania 3. Really hard. Symphony of the Night, it's easy. Mm-hmm. It's non-linear. Mm-hmm. I think that difficulty has to be balanced with exploration. Because you're going to end up being in a situation where you're doing all this really hard platforming, and then you really can't make this super difficult section non-linear. And this is a game consisting almost entirely of super difficult sections. So why bother making it non-linear? I know that this game was praised. This game was in the class of games, you know, Axiom Verge. There was, you know, Ori and the Blind Forest, Guacamelee. All these games came out within the same year of each other or something like that, right? And they all had different pros and cons. This game, I think that maybe it was a Metroidvania to check a box on a sales sheet rather than, because it has so much else going for it.
The way I felt about this game playing it was, you know, the NES mods and homebrews that they do when they do like a really hard version of Super Mario Brothers, or they do a really hard version of Metroid. They always take what Metroid was, but then they just make it harder because now this is for the expert. I feel like this is a Metroidvania style game made harder, but the difference is here you have somebody doing an orchestral score, and you have awesome graphics.
Yeah. So it's the difficult Mario game with a budget.
Exactly.
Basically.
Yeah,
that's what it comes
Mario.
down to.
It's Mario 3 mix.
Yeah.
Or Mario Adventure with it's not Mario. It's Metroid, but yeah. Or actually all those Castlevania mods that they did. There's more, by the way, speaking of like NES mods, there's more Castlevania friggin' mods than there is anything else.
So many.
And I don't know. We just said a lot of negative things about this game, and I don't want to crap on this game because I actually do like this game.
Yeah.
First and foremost, the atmosphere and the style of game is awesome. It looks beautiful. I think that the controls work really, really well.
You could tell that they went for a style with the jumping, like how it's floaty and then you get items and it weakens you, and the way that like when you run by ground cover, it like rustles it and stuff. So much went into the style that it's just awesome. The controls awesome, and so are the power-ups. I felt like every power-up was cool and meaningful. The game has 2 upgrade systems. It has the items that you find in the traditional Metroid fashion, like you find the ability to crawl on walls, or you find the dash or the dash jump. You find those sort of things. But then it also has a combat-based progression or a like level up based progression where you collect these orange power up balls that allow you to go down 3 skill trees, and the skill trees seem to be offensive, defensive, and special. You know, so in addition to finding the items you need to progress, you also are able to customize your character a little bit as you go. Maybe you want to go full offensive, or maybe you want to have, you know, more healing abilities or that kind of thing. It's really cool to collect the orange balls and get to pick what you want, because all those abilities are meaningful as well.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the reasons I think you guys watch this show, and I see it in the comments all the time, people say, well, do you recommend the game or not? Like that's what people are really looking for here. And I think that's one of the main reasons we do these videos, is to kind of save you the time of, hey, do you even want to play this or not? Would I play this? I probably would, although there's so many games out there now to play that it's almost like there's really an overabundance this day of video games to play. I think there's better games out there to play. Like there's other games I'd go for first. I'd play Arkham City before I play this game. Personally, I play Hyper Light Drifter before I play this game. There's a lot of other games to play, but I would recommend it. Would you recommend it?
I have to say this game is a complete package, from the way it looks to the way it plays. I definitely would play this. This is a game where I think it's worth your 3 or 4 hours sitting there trying to get that hard puzzle, getting into the next thing. And it's a short experience. It's only 10 hours long. That's $2 an hour at the $20 MSRP. Yeah. Where are you going to get that much entertainment at that price?
Honestly, for me, it's worth it just to see the art style. Just right there, I'm sold just on that. And the fact that it's got great controls. Like we said, there is some issues. The game is uneven. There's really should have been more boss fights, I think. But I would say it's a definite recommend from me. Give it a shot.
So that was Ori and the Blind Forest. Check us out next time, Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, where we look at another title.
All right.